WWF Wrestlemania, the arcade game for PC, CD-ROM, MS-DOS. The first home version of the game I've ever owned, and quite possibly the best version of the game that I've ever played. It was something I strongly believed back in the day when I first got my hands on the game back in 1997, despite not having played the other home versions. And I still believe this to be the case today. Some folks might not agree with that assessment, but goddammit, it's still real to... Wait, what? For those who are unaware of what I'm talking about, back in 1995, Midway Games, you remember Midway, they used to make, they made a WrestleMania arcade game featuring 8 of the top WWF superstars of the time. Midway, of course, was known for their popular Mortal Kombat line of fighting games, and figured they'd do something similar with the WWF. So WrestleMania is more of a hybrid wrestling/fighting game with live digitized graphics of the actual wrestlers and requiring Mortal Kombat-esque button combinations to perform a variety of attack moves, some being your traditional wrestling moves and maneuvers and others not so much. On an average single-player game, your chosen WWF superstar can choose to compete for either the Intercontinental Championship belt or the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Both paths determine the type of opposition you'll be facing in the 7 matches you'll be competing in for the title, with the IC path comprising several one-on-one matches and a few handicap matches against 2 or 3 opponents, and the WWF title path hosting all handicap matches before concluding with a battle royal of sorts, where you basically have to fight off all 8 superstars before winning your title and bearing witness to a budget-efficient fireworks display. Quite riveting, I think. Control in WrestleMania the arcade game is a pretty basic Mortal Kombat style setup. You have 2 sets of punches and kicks, along with a block button. From here you can perform a variety of attacks using MKS button combinations. As you progress, you'll get little bonuses such as first attacks, high-risk maneuvers, that sort of thing. You also have a combo meter that will build up as you fight, allowing you to pull off extravagant combos if you know the proper combination, or you can use a full combo meter to kick out of a pin attempt and get a second wind and a chance at victory. Gameplay in general is pretty tight for a DOS conversion. I remember playing the DOS version of Mortal Kombat, and while it's the best port available at the time, the game did move a bit slow. WrestleMania the arcade game, for DOS at least, is the complete opposite. It's pretty fast, frantic, and holds up pretty well. There's no signs of slowdown anywhere, loading's pretty quick actually, and as a result there's no real lag. It's pretty much smooth sailing in terms of gameplay. Sure, a proper wrestling game format would have been preferable, but WrestleMania has enough energy to it that it makes for a fun experience overall. Control on the keyboard is actually pretty efficient. You can use a joypad if you're willing to put up with the old school joystick calibration process, which I'm not, so I use a keyboard. Keyboard control is far more responsive than I remember it being, and it's not that bad either. Mind you, there were times where moves could be a hassle to pull off, but for the most part controls were fairly responsive, they work. I can't ask for much more than that, really. In terms of visuals, WrestleMania the arcade game pretty much manages to retain the arcade quality graphics into port over to MS-DOS. There are slight instances of lesser color being applied here and there, but it's relatively minor. For the most part, it looks pretty nice, animates about as smoothly as you can get, and there never comes a time when it looks choppy or anything of the sort. So visually, WrestleMania the arcade game on DOS looks pretty good. Sound quality is also pretty good, I think, with all the mat slams and blows sounding like they're fairly decent quality at least. The in-game music's your usual MIDI compositions and interpretations of the arcade game's soundtrack. They're respectable enough, not quite high quality, but it sounds alright. And of course you have commentary from Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler, which adds to the overall experience of WrestleMania the arcade game, almost disguising the fact that the commentary is quite limiting in terms of what's actually being said. Still, it's an added touch and it's funny stuff, and amazingly enough, is much better commentary than what you find in the current WWE video games. Sad to say. Overall, WrestleMania the arcade game, it's got a pretty decent conversion, pretty good conversion on MS-DOS. And out of all the home conversions made of the game back in the day, it's probably the best of the bunch and my favorite version, due mainly to the top-notch controls, the solid graphics and sound, and the fast-paced action with virtually little to no lag. Nowadays, it's probably not worth going out of your way to finding a copy unless you have an old DOS computer or dabble in the DOSBox emulator program. But despite that, I still think it's a perfectly fine conversion. Is it the best game out there? No. Is it a great game? Not really, but there's enough to it that it can be a fun time for some, and it's, at the very least, it can be considered a good game, at least. Definitely one worth checking out, which is more than what I could say for this game's offspring, but that's another story for another time. Maybe next time. Tease. Good night.